Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. I'm Ashley Lofton, the Director of Marketing here at AgilQuest. We really are excited to see so many of you on the call. We have a lot of familiar faces, current customers who seem to be here excited to hear about the newest enhancements to the forum. And we see many new faces who are ready to hear about how the forum creates a seamless workplace experience for their employees. So AgilQuest has been very busy over the last couple of years, as you are about to see, evolving forum to continuously meet the needs of today's modern workplace and workforce. The roadmap of the forum, both past and future, is really not just about the technology and about your space, but we feel it must be about the workplace experience for the employees that use it. So Torrance Houlihan, our VP of Product Management, is going to share with you what that roadmap looks like, where we've been, where we are today, and where we're going. He'll explore the new features and integrations that support seamless collaboration and meeting experiences. And then Jay Sowers, our Senior Solutions Consultant, will walk you through the user experience for finding and selecting the best places to work, both inside and outside the organization. So I won't take up any more of their time. With that, Torrance, I will turn it over to you.
Great, Ashley. Thank you so much. And as you said, I can see on the list that we have a great mix of people who are very familiar with the forum, who are using it today. We have some people who are using our onboard product, the enterprise installed software that we offer, and as well as some folks that I don't know yet. So I look forward to getting to know everybody who's listening in on here and sharing more information about AgilQuest and what we bring to market. To kind of get everybody to the same place, what I want to do is kind of quickly recap how we got here and then talk about what's going on the remainder of this quarter. So just what has happened so far this quarter and what's still to come in the next month or so. So very briefly, back in the fourth quarter of 2017, we released what we called the AgilQuest Forum Beta product. And understand that this is our definition of a beta product. It actually had all of the features of onboard itself. So all of the reservation capability, the end user capability, all of the components of onboard. Didn't have all the interfaces yet that onboard offers, but it had all of the logic and workplace management built in to the forum, as well as you can see from this image, a very consumer-like interface where we looked long and hard at the best-of-breed consumer applications and how they helped people on a daily basis get what they needed to get in order to be productive. So we married the best ideas, the best of a user experience from consumer-based applications with the components of onboard, the logic of onboard, to help people manage their workplace in the most effective and efficient way possible. And as you can see, it's a very visual, very feature-rich experience. And this was the beta release, by the way, as I said. So it's a very feature-rich experience. It's got full integration into some of our partners on the web, as you can see, included here live Google Maps, where you can even go down to Street View. One other thing that we did in this release that we thought was pretty innovative is we took our AgilQuest Analytics business intelligence platform and we exposed it to every end user of the software. Now, obviously not every end user of the software gets to see the same information, but what they can get is information appropriate for them based on their role and their organization. So this is an example of what an end user's dashboard might look like. My personal bookings, when are the busy times, what are the busy days for the places I like to go. And as I roll this up to be a manager or portfolio manager of real estate, obviously you're looking at more aggregated views of what's going on across your entire portfolio. And this entire first beta release, including analytics, it was fully responsive. So it looked great on the web, or it looked great on a laptop, looked great on a tablet, all the way down to your smartphone. So that was what we released in the fourth quarter of 17 as our beta. Then as we brought our product into 2018, we turned our attention a little more towards corporate security standards and corporate management. So we started to integrate security standards like SAML. We implemented new security paradigms. This is all hosted, by the way, up at Amazon, so it's in a very secure infrastructure as a service architecture. But we introduced some new encryption and security paradigms into the product. We also introduced something that is pretty unique in our space, which is a built-in, we call it a data management utility. It's part of what is often referred to in the market as an ETL process, which stands for extract, transfer, and load, which is the process of taking data from one system and putting it in another system. So even though this is hosted up at Amazon, there is a data management utility that allows all of the forum customers to update or to create, update, and archive information about users, the assets in the system, the locations in the system in bulk, and it can be automated. So there's a manual bulk update method, and there's a method to automate that, which again, I don't know of anybody in our space that offers anything like this in a hosted environment. So this is another example where we looked at some of the best of breed hosted applications for how they do very large data management, and we took some of those ideas and brought it in to the forum. Now, that's nice, but if we did that and turned our back on the end user community, then no one would want to use the product. So also in that release cycle, we introduced whole new ways of personalization. So people could go in, they can configure their notifications, they can configure their preferences, they can determine how the application will look and feel and behave for them, and they could start the foundations of what we call a team capability. And I think, Jay, as we get a little further into this, we'll talk about team capability, how it exists today. This is a little bit beyond what I was going to talk about today, but watch this space. There's some team functionality coming very soon that we're really excited about in the forum. So we started this idea of letting people build teams to help them manage and invite people and see what's going on with their teams. And we're taking that to a next level in our next release cycle. So I'm really excited about what's going on with team functionality, because that really, again, it's bringing that experience home to people and how they interact with the forum and their colleagues interact with the forum. As we got to the second half of last year, this is where things started to get really, really interesting. And I did a whole seminar just on this topic, which if you're interested in this, I invite you to look on our website and download that seminar or reach out to us and we'll send it to you. But in the second half of last year, we introduced something called a sharing capability. And what the sharing capability does is it allows you to participate in a marketplace for space. So some of those marketplaces might be a building, a landlord of a building, and they have space and they have other amenities, and they want to offer those amenities to the tenants of the building, so they're creating a connected community in the building. Some of these communities are through some business partnerships that AgilQuest has that we bring to all of our customers, where we have a relationship with over 700 business centers worldwide, and we're putting those centers into the system. So by nature of just being an AgilQuest Forum customer, you can actually access these 700 business centers around the world right from the same platform. Jay is going to touch on this a little bit in his demo. I always think it's important to note here, however, that the sharing capability is as inclusive or as restricted as you want it to be. We have many, many customers who aren't ready to embrace sharing, and they say, hey, AgilQuest, we want our people booking our space, our services, our equipment, our parking, and so forth. And that's totally fine. You can operate the forum in that model, and that's a wonderful model. It's supported many organizations around the country and around the world. For those organizations and for those landlords who may be out there listening, who want to take things in a slightly different direction and offer a connected community, could be, we've been talking to people about connecting municipal communities, so towns and cities, connecting their spaces. But the easy one to think about would be a landlord, as I said, with their amenities and services that they can offer out to their community, or for those of you who want to participate in this access to third-party space that we're bringing to the AgilQuest community. So we're really excited about this, and there's a whole webinar just on this. And we are the only platform in the world that allows an end user to book space inside of their leased or owned space, their landlord space, and that third-party space, all from the same interface with the same experience. At that time, we also introduced our first mobile app. Jay's going to be showing one of our mobile apps. He's showing a slightly newer version. This was the first mobile app that we introduced. This is the iOS-based app. You can see it's very visual, very feature-rich. But he's going to be showing you a new one that's coming out in the coming days here. This next one is one I'm personally really excited about. With the forum up at Amazon, we've embraced a very standards-driven model that allows us to integrate with lots of different organizations and lots of different technologies that open up the door to things that we just couldn't do with Onboard and in a repeatable and easy way like we are with Forum. And this is one of those things that we've done. We have a relationship with this organization. The PSIA stands for the Physical Security Interoperability Alliance. If you're not familiar with that, that's the business group or the business association behind the people who make your security badges that let you badge in and out of your building. So this group has some data standards, and we are the first system that's connected into those data standards and tied it back to a reservation platform so that if you have one of their compliant systems, and that's organizations like Castle and Honeywell and many, many others, we can integrate out of the box to your security system. And that is just a fantastic way to really jumpstart that experience of tying your workplace experience all together into one cohesive whole for your end user community. So we can talk more about this in the Q&A or afterwards if anyone's interested, but this is an integration that we have that through this standard, and it is a listening capability built into the forum, and it does out of the box integrate to their data standard. It's called the PLAY standard. However, if your security system, your badging system is not one of those systems out there that's PLAY compliant, you can still use this interface to track presence. All we have to do is share the data standard, and your organization, your security company can post presence information to us and can be integrated as well. So if you're not using a company that is part of this PLAY data standard, that's okay. We can still work with them, and we're happy to show them how to do that. The reason that's exciting is because that release coincided with a major update that we did to our data warehouse and business intelligence platform. So with that release, we started a data archiving, data warehousing capability that allows all of our customers to really get deep into the data and the use of the system all the way down to a person level if they want it. We understand that not every organization wants that. Not every organization wants to go down to the person level. So this data can be completely anonymized. So you don't see the names and the email addresses. The PII is all redacted from these reports, or it can be for those that want this and can support this to this level. What is fantastic to me about this is this gives our customers the capability to start doing usage analysis without putting in rooms and without making reservations. That's a totally new capability for AgilQuest. I think we have a webinar coming up in the next few months really focusing on that. But for those of you who are on here or listening in today or listening to the recording, it's a new capability that we have, and we're working on this with some of our other business partners and then deploying it with them so that people, even without putting in desks and reservations, can start using the forum as a usage visualization tool or a utilization visualization tool, to start seeing how their buildings are being occupied even without that data. That data obviously can follow, and then you can get to more levels of granularity, but you could get started today without it, which is just fantastic. Then late last year, right in the holiday season, we released something in partnership with Intel. And for those of you who've attended our previous webinars, you've probably heard about our partnership with Intel. It's something we're very excited about. We're partnered with Intel in many different ways. This happens to be a partnership with something called Intel Unite. And what Unite is is an in-room collaboration technology that Intel brings to market that allows people to connect, share, and collaborate in a totally wireless way. And what we brought to the party is this is actually an AgilQuest forum screen running on the Intel Unite framework, and it's tied into the reservation systems. So as you can see, you probably all have this, right? Those big TV screens in your meeting rooms. And most of the time, that technology is just sitting there not providing any value when the room isn't in use or you're doing a video call. What we do is we take that technology, marry it to the Unite platform and our system, and so now it's very easy for people to see, is the room available? What are the upcoming reservations in the room? And then you can start the meeting from the digital signage outside of the room, which can also be part of that Intel solution. So that happened late last year, and that was just shown at a huge trade show in Amsterdam a few weeks ago. And if you're out at any conferences or trade shows over the next 12 months and Intel is displaying there, take a look at what they're showing. It's probably going to be our software behind it. We've partnered up with Intel for all of their trade shows for their meeting room collaboration technology for the next 12 months. So very exciting development going on there and what we're working with. And one other quick note on that is this Intel Unite technology is part of a collaborative ecosystem of technologies in the room. So in the room, there are sensors. In the room, there are lighting controls and other things. And we're all participating in this ecosystem and sharing data from one partner to another. So really exciting things going on there with Intel. Now into this quarter, speaking of Intel, this is another release we're doing with them. This is a Windows-based digital signage interface running on an Intel framework, an Intel machine. This is part of the Intel Market Ready solution. You can see it's got built-in RFID for badge authentication. It's got built-in LEDs. We do display some red, green, yellow in the imagery because this also runs on a standard Windows tablet without the LEDs. But this one happens to be the one that we're doing with Intel for outside of their meeting rooms, that their collaborative spaces that's in their go-to-market strategy. We have another digital sign that I didn't talk about. It actually came out in release cycle 1. It's an iOS-based digital sign, and you'll see one that has that interface in a short video I'm going to show in a moment. We have a brand new Android app coming out using the new UI UX framework that we're working with. Jay's going to show that live, so I don't need to talk too much about that. We also introduced new internationalization capabilities where the forum is now available. And last I looked, it was more than a dozen languages. Of course, it localizes to time zones and currencies and all of that, but the languages were the big thing that was exciting in that release. We've introduced, as part of our business intelligence platform, and the BI platform that is part and parcel of the forum that everyone gets when they license the forum, it's built in. The updates have been coming fast and furious to that, and this is one of the latest updates that just came out a few weeks ago, which is really deep analytics into workplace management. And so, of course, every customer of the forum gets these updates automatically because being hosted up at AWS, everyone's always on the latest platform. Everyone has heard these things before. The total cost of ownership of a SaaS-based platform is greatly reduced as compared to an enterprise platform, and you're always on the latest and greatest releases. So this is an example of the analytics that people just got in the last few weeks up at AWS. Now, last but not least, this is something we've done for years on our onboard platform. It's been eagerly awaited on the forum, and I'm happy to say that we are now announcing our direct server-to-server Exchange integration between the AgilQuest forum and Microsoft Exchange. And I'll show that in just a minute, how that looks and feels, and the important components of that, particularly being that it is a server-to-server integration, so it allows you to keep using the plugins that you may already be using, Skype, Zoom, BlueJeans, Free Conference Call, WebEx, whatever collaborative technologies you're already using, you can continue using just as you are and have that integrated Exchange to forum relationship. So that catches you up to where we are. Well, some of this stuff is still like the sign is still yet to release this quarter, but that catches you up to where we are now. We're going to talk quite a bit about futures in another webinar and some of the things that are coming out there, but I did mention team-based capability, and so that's something that you can be aware of. And I think when Jay gets into the smartphone app, he's going to reference some other technology that's coming out soon from AgilQuest. So that should catch everybody up to where we are on the forum. And that's kind of, we're excited about it. We hope you're excited about it. But how does it come together? And how does it deliver the experience for the workplace that people really want to have and really want to see? I have a short video that I'll show. And before I turn it on, what this is going to do is it's going to take you through a person using, in this case, it's our new Android app. It's connected to some digital signage outside of the room because it's connected to the forum. All of these things are connected back to AWS and the forum. The booking immediately goes from the phone to the core forum. It's displayed in the Android app. And then you'll see as he walks into the conference room, this is part of our Intel release. So it's connected to the large TV screens even in the conference room. And you can see it's a very easy to use interface, standard components. And Jay, as I said, Jay will be showing this live in just a minute. So he goes through, he's made his booking, he can see his results. Now this screen, I'll pause that for just a second. This is a Windows-based digital signage option. This is the one that's being redesigned that I showed on the roadmap just a minute ago. That roadmap, the new digital sign is coming out later, or in March, so next month, I guess, technically. But this one is the one that's out today. And this is exactly the same interface that runs on an iOS platform. And we have customers who prefer to use an iPad to a Windows-based platform. That's great. They're welcome to do that. They have this interface available to them on an iOS platform if they choose to go down that path. So the person doing the video here, you can see the reservation pops up. They then walk into the room, and on the room, on the large display, you can see, and this is the live version of this, all of the upcoming meetings. What's really nice about this display that they had was this was an interactive display. It wasn't just a television. It was actually a touch screen. So they could start the meeting from that large display. They could start the video conference and sharing capabilities from that display. So there's some really interesting innovations that are coming out through that partnership with Intel that we're excited about. But what that does is it shows you kind of the experience that a person would have. They take out their smartphone, they make a booking. By the time they're at the conference room, it's on the digital sign. They can use their badge to authenticate to the sign. They go into the room. They have the big TV in the room. The TV tells them how to connect to the meeting, and every participant can immediately begin collaborating in a wireless way. Really exciting developments going on there that are available in the forum today. I want to walk you through how Exchange works because this is something that a lot of people have been asking us about, waiting very with high interest for when this was going to become available. So this is now deployed up to AWS. We are starting on a customer beta program for this now, but I'm going to take you through how it works in a slideshow mode just because this helps me highlight some of the key points in this. If anyone wants to see this live, please contact us via the chat or an email to your account manager or to your salesperson that you're working with, and we can set that up for you because this is set up now at AWS, released out into the public internet, so we can demo this off the data that's up there. But the flow that an individual would go through is that they can use any interface to Microsoft Exchange they want. That's one of the reasons why that server-to-server integration is so important. This is not a plugin. This is not an Outlook plugin that limits people only to Microsoft Outlook. If you use iOS, if you use Android, if you use a Mac, if you use Microsoft Teams, if you use OWA, all of those different interfaces are perfectly fine. They work exactly the same way because they're just interfaces back to Microsoft Exchange, and it's Microsoft Exchange that we're talking to, not Outlook, not OWA. That limits the end users, and it creates desktop support scenarios that we just don't want to get into. In this review, I am using examples of Microsoft Outlook. That's what we use internally, so that's what I use to put this together. I opened up a new meeting appointment. I clicked to invite some colleagues. As I do that, Microsoft displays something called the Room Finder. This is native Microsoft functionality. We can work with you on how to best set up the Room Finder to structure your rooms so that they're manageable in the Room Finder. Once I pick what I want, then the rooms show up here in the list. I can pick one or both of these rooms to be included in my appointment. So I added them, I made my appointment. You can see now the location field fills in automatically. I made this as a Skype meeting. We at AgilQuest actually use a product called Free Conference Call. We use Skype and we use Microsoft Teams. So I could have done this as a Teams meeting. They all work the same way. If you've got Zoom, if you've got WebEx, it all works the same way. You can use those. They're completely fine. Once I hit send, that meeting was communicated back to the forum, and it showed up here on the forum, the project review from 10 to 11. It was booked, and then forum communicates back to Exchange and adds some information into the meeting appointment that goes out to all the attendees so they can see where this is. If I'm an internal person, I can actually click one of these links. I can see a floor plan for this room. I can see all the information about this room, all the relevant information about it. And this is just a great visual to help people know that forum and Exchange are connected. And just like you've got Skype in there, you also have forum information in there so that people can get information about the room. And they can go there to check in. If they don't have digital signage or they're not using their smartphone to check in, they can go there to check in and confirm their presence for the meeting. Again, I'd love to show this to you live, so please reach out to your salesperson, your account manager, and we'll go through exactly how that works in a live demonstration. But with that, I am going to hand this over to Jay, who is going to take you through some live demonstrations of some of our other capabilities.
Great, thank you, Torrance. I appreciate that. As you can see, we've been doing a lot of work, and Torrance and his team have just been working so hard to pull that experience together. So I'm going to share my screen and walk everybody through a few other ways that people could interact with the system. So in this scenario, I work for a fictional consulting firm here in Richmond, Virginia called McCown Consulting. And part of my job, and you may have people who are in similar positions, is to be in and out of the office. It's really to be on client sites, to travel to other offices, and to really be collaborating, whether it's inside our space or at our client space. So when I start out, just to point out a couple things, some things that are really helpful to people, you can always see your upcoming reservations, and it's really great to be able to click into these, to modify them, to either cancel them. You know, for example, if I know I'm not going to even be in town on the 4th anymore, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that reservation. And from there, I could make any other changes. But today, I had a client actually cancel on me for a meeting this afternoon, and I wanted to go ahead and go into the office to do some heads down work. So in this scenario, I needed to quickly grab an office. There's a few different ways that I can see what's available. We have a list view, which is nice. I can also switch over to a floor plan view, which is great, and I can always click on space. I can see if that's going to work for me, and then click into it and reserve it. And then click submit. So as you can see, that is going to change the status of that space so that whenever anybody else looks this afternoon, they'll see that room or that space is reserved. And I just made a reservation in a matter of seconds. Now, another scenario that I want to run through is some of what Torrance mentioned earlier in us connecting communities. And so this could be my landlord. It could be a partner company. It could be a sister company within an umbrella of companies. But in this scenario, I had a client just call me, and I need to find a meeting space, but they're all booked. He happens to be in the building, and I want to make sure that we can get together. I've been trying to get with him for a long time. So in this case, I have the ability to pull up the space that my landlord's made available to us, and I can quickly see if there's a room that they may have available. And on here you can see people who offer this type of space out, whether it is a landlord. It could even be your own organization. Maybe you're in a long-term lease right now. You have a floor, half a floor that's underutilized. You could potentially create a forum to share this space across other tenants within your building. Now, I could see this room's $30 an hour. That's well worth it. I want to close some business, and it's very important that I get a place to meet. Maybe I reserved a workspace that wasn't conducive to having somebody come into the office. So all I have to do is click on that space, and it's the same experience that I showed earlier. I give it a name. And when we're booking collaborative spaces, we just request the number of attendees. It's great for reporting later. Another thing that I can do very easily is add other people. Now, I don't have my team configured to this environment, but anybody that I added to my team would be listed here. I could select all of them or some of them. Other people within my organization, I could look them up and find them as well. And then anybody external to the organization, I could enter their email address here. So again, it's quick, easy, and I can pull everybody I need into that meeting, or at least make them aware. All I do is click submit, and now I can go ahead and tell that person that I can meet them down on the first floor, and we can go into that collaborative space. So again, these are connected forums that I have available to me, and I can always land in my home forum here. But the third scenario I wanted to share is, let's pretend that we do a lot of business in Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. I know that I'm going to be up there for the day, in and out of client meetings, but I need to find a place to meet with somebody else. So I'm going to start in Arlington, see what's available. And what I like about this is right now there's one business center there, but I can go ahead and switch over to view by locations. And maybe this location is not conducive to the meeting that I have later in the afternoon. I have to meet in D.C., and what's nice is I can zoom out, and as I zoom out, I can see all the other locations that I could potentially leverage for this meeting. So I've actually used this building before. I like it. I can click on this to view the available assets, and I don't have to click into the building information. I can just see what's available at this date and time, and then all I have to do is click on it to reserve it. We've gotten a lot of feedback from large organizations that really want to have better control over the spend that their employees have. On outside space, and it's a bit of a black hole. So this is a way that you can incorporate some control to that and get some reporting on it. So then I just enter the number of attendees, and I can click submit. So those are three different scenarios where the forum has helped enable a seamless experience. I needed to quickly grab things. We always love it when people plan ahead, when they can seek out things and plan those things ahead of time. But as you know, that doesn't always go as planned, and sometimes you need to have access to space quickly. So now I'm going to jump into the mobile app. Bear with me one moment. All right. All right, so what I love about our mobile apps is that there's really a unified experience. Whether I'm using the web portal, which we just went through, or whether I need to look things up through the mobile app, we really provide flexibility and choice in how people interact with the system. So I can always refer to upcoming reservations. I could go ahead and check in from my mobile device, and I could always check out early. What's great is I can, again, summarize any upcoming meetings. I could also look at the status of requests. That's something I didn't point out in the web portal, but any reservation will always show its current status. So this happens to be a space that requires approval, and that's something that can be dynamic down to the space. A third thing that I love about the mobile apps and Forum in general is that you can always refer back to any reservations that you've already made. And what's really nice about it, if you like a space, you remember that you used an office or a meeting space a week or two back and it really worked well, you want to repeat that experience, you can copy an existing reservation. And what's nice is, if you had invitees tied to that original reservation, they can be copied in to the new reservation as well. So it's just a really nice, seamless experience. Now, I'm going to run back to the front here. I do want to point out what it's like to make a reservation. So as you can see, it's very quick, intuitive, and I could either be grabbing something quickly on the fly, or if I needed to, maybe I have a meeting now, tomorrow, and I want to make sure that I grab a room. It's always going to default to an hour. I could, obviously change that to whatever timing I need, and I could then see what's available. There's even filters, the same filters that you can filter by inside of the web portal. So these are all the rooms that or offices that are available to me, and I could make a reservation quickly and easily from here. All right, so some other functionality that we're really excited about and that I didn't show is the ability to search by floor plan from the mobile app. That's new, so I can show that quickly. And it will allow you to select any floor that you've been allocated, so it's really nice. You can zoom into the space, click on it, and make a reservation. Show you any pertinent information, and that's going to work for me. I can go ahead and make the reservation. The next, coming next in the mobile app, another way that can make it really easy for people to grab available spaces, the ability to scan QR codes. So these could be placed outside of small collaborative spaces, meeting rooms, huddle rooms, telephone booths. It could be desks or workspaces. And basically, I could scan a QR code, see the availability or the schedule of that room, and if it was available, I could go ahead and reserve it. And since the app knows who you are, it can also enforce allocations. So not only, whether you authenticated through a room sign, or if you were scanning a QR code to grab a room, we can still enforce those allocations. And in other words, who has the right to reserve this room, or not. So with that said, I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and
Great. Thank you.
We're very excited about all these new additions.
Yeah. No, I hope everybody else is as excited as we are around here. So with that, we did have some questions come in. Just a reminder, if you do have any additional questions, to enter them in the Q&A panel in the WebEx. All right, so I'm going to start right at the beginning. And Torrance, you might have addressed this, but is the Exchange integration a plugin?
No. Yeah, thank you. It is not a plugin. We tried that, and for a lot of reasons, we've moved away from a plugin model. It's a direct server-to-server integration, and that, as I mentioned when I was talking, that allows end users to use any interface to Exchange that they want: Outlook, Teams, their iPhone, Android device, what have you. And it also allows you to have any plugins that you are using, Zoom, WebEx, Skype, etc., and have that work seamlessly with the integration. So it's not a plugin; it's a direct server-to-server model. And I'd love to whomever is asking about that, I'd love to have a deeper conversation about why we did that offline from here, because there's a lot of really good reasons that just make it more deployable and more supportable to your community.
Great, thank you. All right, getting into sensors. Does the platform work with sensors?
So the short answer is yes, absolutely. And the slightly longer answer is not only does it work with sensors, but because it's A, part of the Unite ecosystem, and B, we have an open RESTful API, if you have sensors that we don't have experience with, we would more than happy to work with them and have them come in through our API to send the information about presence in the room, attendee count in the room, et cetera. Or if they're if you have the Unite ecosystem, we can work with that, and that kind of goes hand in hand with smart building, where the system can also work with your building controls to determine lighting and other things. So absolutely, even though this is an AWS SaaS application, yes, absolutely, it works with those.
Awesome. Torrance, you briefly touched on the integrated analytics. What kind of reports are available?
A lot. So let me back up for a second. And obviously, I didn't show what's available there. There's a couple different things that every end user gets to do. Every end user can create a dashboard with a series of widgets, where the widgets are kind of handy visualization tools to see different things. You can look at how busy a room is, how busy a building is, how busy a region is through these widgets and create a dashboard. There's also reports, which can be, and the dashboards, by the way, can be saved and shared, which is really nice. So if you're working with a colleague, you create a dashboard for your Mid-Atlantic region or your Pacific Northwest region, whatever, then you can share that dashboard with your colleagues so everybody has the same view that you're working from. The reports are a little bit different. The reports are very, very visual, but they help you look at, I would say, 3 different categories. Deep information about people and how they use space, deep information about space, the utilization metrics around space, and thirdly, and this one's really important, the adoption metrics for your workplace program. And this is one that if anyone is a current customer, please go and look at this. If you're not a forum, if you're not, reach out to us. We'd love to show it to you because we have these built-in reports that help you track reservation activity in any time increment that you want. And you can see in very visual ways what is being used and how often. It doesn't answer the why. The why is going to be kind of a little bit, this shows you where to ask to get the why. But these adoption metrics, or sometimes we call them health metrics, are so vital for you to understand the success and how well deployed your program is. So that's kind of how I would summarize the analytics component.
Great. There's another question of kind of along those lines. We're about to have a lease renewal and are thinking of doing a utilization study. Does your platform handle those?
Absolutely. If you're a current customer, you can use what I was talking about when I was doing that roadmap kind of recap of the usage analysis. If you're not a current customer, you can do it. We can work with you to, like I mentioned, and this is a new capability for us that we're excited about. You can do those utilization studies without even putting in reservations or resources, and we can track and visualize what's going on in your building based on that open presence listener.
Great. And I'll just make a note there. You mentioned it, but the next webinar will be on workplace analytics and utilization studies. So kind of a perfect setup for that. We'll definitely send out information when that is scheduled. So a couple more questions here. How can I learn more about the Intel Unite? Is this something that I can purchase as a bundle or package with the forum? Maybe Don, we have Don Davidson in here. Maybe he can help answer that question.
Sure. The Unite package can be purchased through a handful of resellers, that are authorized Intel Unite resellers. and that we have relationships with strategic partners of ours like Meeting Machines and others that we can source directly or through the reseller or through directly through AgilQuest. So we're happy to make that connection to the right resource, whether it's an Intel contact or a strategic partner of ours.
Thank you. It looks like we've got one last question here. Maybe, Jay, you can answer this one. If I would like to try out the software, do you have a free trial?
Absolutely. We have the ability to start an instance of Forum for you. And the nice thing is that you can get the full experience of what it's like to set up and configure some spaces. And we help you with that. You have a window of time where you get to try it out, and if for whatever reason you don't want to move forward, you have the ability to opt out. You don't owe us anything, so that's free, and we love to set those up for people to get their hands on the system.
Great. I actually do have a couple of questions that I must have missed here. Can I specify capacity? So I have 40 people, and therefore will show rooms for that size.
You bet. I've skimmed over it, but there's the ability to filter results based on things like room attributes, capacity for sure, type of space. So, there's a lot of ways to narrow down search results, and capacity is definitely one of them.
Awesome. And maybe, Torrance, you could answer this. Will it tie into building maintenance management systems?
Watch this space, I guess, because that is something that we are working on right now. I don't want to say too much about it, but that is a pretty common request we get if we can be connected into a trouble ticket work order routing system, because we know who the person is, we know what the rooms are, et cetera, and watch that space. More to come.
Great. Excellent. And Torrance, this is a question from me to maybe help set that up, is how often do you schedule new releases and see new features and enhancements coming in?
Sure. Well, because this is up at AWS, we do issue updates with fair regularity, but and I know to some people, and I say fair regularity, at least quarterly. To some people that might sound a little scary, to other people that might sound great. But think about the number of different interfaces we have. So we have the smartphone interfaces, we have the digital signage interfaces, and I didn't mention this, but the Windows-based ones are running out of the Windows Store. So they work just like the app on your smartphone would for the forum, where they auto-update. Then we have the core application, as we call it, and then we have analytics. So there's updates coming to all parts of the application on a very regular release pattern. Roughly speaking, we like to say there's 3 major releases a year. But if you look back at that roadmap that I presented, obviously there was a lot of things coming. But we just really want everybody to know we practice what we preach. We run a lean organization. The license fees and everything else that comes into AgilQuest turns around, goes into the software. And I hope you could see from that path, and that didn't even show everything. It didn't even show the digital signage and such, the first releases of that. We're really serious about getting the best technology out to our customers in the fastest way possible, which obviously means it has to go through rigorous testing and so on and so forth. But you can expect updates at least quarterly across all those different interfaces. And that makes it easier to swallow also. Sorry, Ashley. In the enterprise world, I know there were some onboard customers on here. What would happen is they would install it, they would miss a couple point releases, maybe a version release, and then an upgrade was hard, right? But by being by being a SaaS platform and staying on the current release, these upgrades come and they're easy to digest, and you're always getting the latest and greatest and the improvements, and everyone benefits. So when you give us good ideas, hey, AgilQuest, we think your smartphone app would be better if it did this, everybody benefits from that. So we want to get that out to everyone as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, that's great. Definitely one of the benefits of SaaS. So, and that being said, I did talk about the upcoming webinar. Again, we will send that out. It'll be on the analytics and utilization reporting. And then as we do have new releases, we do hold these regular webinars that feature what's new and tease up what's coming. So make sure that you are checking your inbox for those. Again, if you would like to schedule a demo, please give us a shout here on the chat or email us at sales@agilquest.com, or just go to our website and select the demo request. And beyond that, we will send you out the recording within the next few days, and we hope that you have enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let us know, and we will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day, and thanks, Jay and Torrance.